On this board, we're talking about Respa. Now, which regulation is Respa? Respa is Regulation X. And what does Respa stand for? Respa stands for Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. And what is the purpose of Respa? What is the purpose of Regulation X? What is the purpose of the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act? The purpose is to help consumers become better shoppers for settlement services, eliminate unnecessary increases in costs due to kickbacks, and place limitation on the use of reserve accounts. Now, question for you. What transactions does Respa apply to? Respa applies to any federally related mortgage loan for 1 to 4 unit owner-occupied property. So conventional loans and government-sponsored loans such as FHA and VA and purchase loans and reverse mortgages and assumptions and refinances and property improvement loans and equity lines of credit. That's what applies. That's what Respa applies to. Now, question for you. What does Respa not apply to, right? You know what Respa applies to, so therefore, what does Respa not apply to? Well, Respa does not apply to all cash sales, right? Because remember, Respa applies to any federally related mortgage loan for 1 to 4 unit owner-occupied property. So if it's an all-cash sale, there's no loan involved. And so therefore, Respa would not apply to that transaction, right? So Respa does not apply to all cash sales. Respa does not apply to rental properties, right? Why? Because Respa only applies to any federally related mortgage loan for 1 to 4 unit owner-occupied property. It has to be owner-occupied, right? So rental properties, it does not apply to rental properties. Now, quick note though, it could be a situation where, let's say it's a duplex or there's a 3 unit or 4 unit, right? And the owner lives in 1 unit and rents out the other units. Well, that would apply, right? Because at least 1 unit is owner occupied, right? But when we're talking about rental properties where the owner is not living in one of the units, well, that doesn't apply, right? So Respa does not apply to all cash sales. It does not apply to rental properties. It does not apply to property of 25 acres or more, right? Agricultural property doesn't apply to that. Doesn't apply to vacant land unless a dwelling will be constructed or moved onto the property within 2 years, all right? But other than that, it would not apply to vacant land, does not apply to commercial properties, does not apply to home seller takebacks, and it does not apply to temporary construction loans, okay? So just keep this in mind. Respa, Regulation X, the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, it only applies to any federally related mortgage loan for 1 to 4 unit owner-occupied property. Now, question. What are the major components of Respa, right? What are the sections? Now, so actually, there are several sections of Respa, but there's only 4 sections that we need to really be concerned about, right? There's only 4 sections that will be on the MLO safe tests, right? What are the 4 sections that we need to know for the MLO test? What are the 4 sections of Respa that we need to know? The 4 sections are Section 6, Section 8, Section 9, and Section 10. Section 6 is about servicing of loans. Section 8 is about kickbacks. Section 9 is about title. And Section 10 is about escrow. Now, here's how you can remember those 4 sections. think of the word skate. Skate. S-K-A-T-E. But overlook the A, and so you only have S-K-T-E, right? So think of the word skate, and and overlook A, so then therefore we will spell it as S-K-T-E. The S relates to section 6, servicing. The K relates to section 8, kickbacks. The T relates to section 9, title. And the E relates to section 10, escrow. So S-K-T-E, servicing, kickbacks, title, and escrow. Skate. That's just a great way to remember the 4 sections of Respa that we need to know. So let's dive into this. Section 6, servicing. All right, what are the major components of section 6 of Respa? Well, one of the major components is about forced place insurance. What is forced place insurance? Forced place insurance is where the loan servicer places insurance on the property because they believe that the borrower has either canceled the insurance policy or has not renewed it. And so therefore the loan servicer is placing insurance on the property. It's called forced place insurance. And so the loan servicer, of course, is going to charge the borrower for that insurance. But the law says, right, section 6 of Respa says, hey, you must notify the borrower 45 days before you charge the borrower for that forced place insurance. Also, you must notify the borrower again 30 days before you charge the borrower for that forced place insurance, right? Now keep in mind, with all these rules and regulations, always think about the bigger picture of what's going on, right? The law is designed to try to help the borrower stay in the home, right? Right? We're trying to, the law is designed to try to get the loan servicers to not abuse the borrower, because in the past there were issues where loan servicers were like abusing the borrowers, right? Doing all types of crazy stuff. And so these regulations are put into place to try to help the borrower, right? So forced place insurance, you have to know that the loan servicer has to notify the borrower 45 days before charging the borrower for the forced place insurance, and they have to notify the borrower again 30 days before charging the borrower, right? Now, what's another section, another major item of section 6? Another major item of section 6 is qualified written requests, also known as QWR. QWR. Qualified written request. What is a qualified written request? Well, it's where the borrower has some type of issue with the loan servicing, and they write a letter, write a note, right? They write a request, they put it in writing, and they send it to the loan servicer. Now, the law, section 6 of Respa, says that the loan servicer has 5 days to acknowledge receipt of that qualified written request, and they have 45 days to resolve the issue, right? All right, so 5 days to acknowledge receipt of the qualified written request and 45 days to resolve the issue. What's another major item of section 6? Well, another one is about missed payments, delinquent accounts. So if the borrower doesn't pay the mortgage, right? The law says, look, the loan servicer must attempt to contact the borrower within 36 days of the missed payment. And if it's still not paid, right, the loan servicer must mail loan mitigation info to the borrower within 45 days of the missed payment. And the law says that the loan servicer cannot file pre-closure notice of default, NOD. Side note, a NOD is a notice of default, right? So the law says that the loan servicer cannot file pre-foreclosure notice of default until payment is 120 days late. So what? That's 4 months, right? For 4 months, they cannot file a NOD, a notice of default, right? So that's section 6 of Respa. Those are the major items of section 6 of Respa, dealing with servicing of the loan. Now, section 8. What is section 8 of Respa? Deals with kickbacks. Kickbacks. So, section 8 of Respa prohibits kickbacks, fee splitting, and unearned upfront fees, except for credit application fees, right? Now, this section also, it prohibits the giving or accepting anything of value for referrals of settlement services, all right? So, now the only exception would be if it's like promotional material. So like if a lender, gives a real estate agent like pins that have the logo on it, or whatever, right? You know what I'm saying? So if it's just like promotional material, like we can give out promotional material of our business, right? But you have to be very careful though, right? Because really anything of value for referral of settlement services is prohibited, right? So that's section 8, kickbacks. Section 9 is about title. Title. The seller cannot require the buyer to use a particular title insurance company as a condition of the sale unless the seller pays for title insurance and all other title related fees, right? Now, if this section is violated, the buyer may sue for treble damages. What is treble damages? What does that mean, treble damages? That means 3 times the damages. 3 times the damages, all right? So if section 9 is violated, the buyer may sue for treble damages for all title insurance charges, all right? What's another section of Respa? Section 10. What is section 10 of Respa? Section 10 is about escrow. Escrow. And section 10, it says the lender cannot require the borrower to deposit more than 1/12 of the annual amount into an escrow account. However, at closing, the lender can require a 2-month cushion at closing. Now, also, section 10 talks about how there must be an annual analysis of the escrow. Every year, they have to analyze the escrow. And if they find any excess of $50, right? Anything over $50 must be returned within 30 days, right? Now, what are the penalties for violating these sections of Respa? What are the penalties? Well, violators may face criminal and civil penalties, including fines up to $10,000, imprisonment up to 1 year, and liability up to 3 times the amount paid for the service. So, remember, an easy way to remember the 4 sections that we need to know for the exam, the 4 sections of Respa that we need to know for the exam. The easy way to remember is think of the word skate, but skip the middle A, right? So skate, but skip the A, so that's SKTE. Servicing, kickbacks, title, and escrow. All right? Awesome. Now, another major component of Respa is disclosure requirements. Disclosure requirements. Now, what are the disclosure requirements? Well, the disclosure requirements, they all fall into a timeline, right? Because Respa is about timing. Remember that. Respa is about timing when it comes to the disclosures, right? RESPA regulates when certain disclosures must be given to the borrower, right? RESPA is about timing. So what are the 4 sections of the timeline, if you will, right? So the timeline, 4 sections. Number 1 is at or within 3 business days of application, of a completed application, right? There's certain disclosures that we have to give at or within 3 business days of a completed application. Also, another part of the timeline is before settlement, another part is at settlement, and the 4th part is after settlement. So now, question for you. What are the disclosures that must be given at or within 3 business days of a completed application? Well, here they are. The Home Loan Toolkit or the HUD Special Information Booklet. Let me clarify this. So if it's for a purchase, right, then it's the Home Loan Toolkit. But if it's like for a HELOC, right, a home equity line of credit, if it's a HELOC, a reverse mortgage, or a loan secured by mobile home, right, then the disclosure is called the Special Information Booklet, all right? So the Home Loan Toolkit or the Special Information Booklet must be given at or within 3 days of the completed application. Now, another name for the Home Loan Toolkit is Know Before You Owe Booklet. Know Before You Owe Booklet, right? Another name for the Home Loan Toolkit. Now, also, the loan estimate must be given, or the GFE, right? Now, again, if it's for a purchase, loan estimate. If it's for a HELOC or a reverse mortgage or a loan secured by a mobile home, then it's called the GFE. What is the GFE? Good faith estimate, right? But if it's for a purchase, it's just the loan estimate, right? So at or within 3 business days of the application, we must disclose the Home Loan Toolkit or Special Information Booklet, the loan estimate or GFE, the mortgage servicing disclosure statement, right? Now what is the mortgage servicing disclosure statement? That's basically, it's a disclosure where the lender is explaining what their intentions are regarding the servicing of the loan, all right? So the mortgage servicing disclosure statement, and then also a list of 10 HUD-approved home counselors must be given. All right? So at or within 3 business days of the application, those disclosures must be given. Now, special note though, these initial disclosures, right, that must be given, within 3 days of the application, all right, they must be given within 3 days of the application unless the lender churns down the loan in that time frame or the borrower withdraws. So if the lender churns down the loan within the 3 days, or if the borrower withdraws their application within the first 3 days, then the lender does not have to give these disclosures within the first 3 days. All right? So now, that's at or within 3 business days of the application. What are the disclosures that are required to be given before settlement? Well, we have to give the affiliated business arrangement disclosure if applicable, right? And what is the affiliated business arrangement disclosure? Basically what it is this. If we, right, a settlement servicer, right? A settlement service provider. If we, as a settlement service provider, if we refer our borrower to another settlement service provider, right? Another business, and if we own more than 1% of that business, then we must disclose that to the borrower, right? Because we have to be upfront and transparent about, you know, ownership of our ownership in another company in which we are referring our borrower to, right? We have to be upfront and transparent about that. So the affiliated business arrangement disclosure must be given, right? If we own more than 1% ownership of the business that we are referring the borrower to, right? That must be given. Now, also the closing disclosure. The closing disclosure must be given 3 days before closing. 3 days before closing, the closing disclosure must be given. Now, what are the disclosures that must be given at settlement? At the settlement, what are the disclosures that must be given? Well, a finalized closing disclosure, right? So another closing disclosure, right? It should be the same as the one that we gave them, you know, 3 days, at least 3 days before the closing, right? But a finalized closing disclosure must be given at the settlement, and also a initial escrow statement. Now, so actually, the initial escrow statement, it can be given at the settlement, or it can be given within 45 days of the settlement, all right? So there's a little flexibility there, all right? So now, what is given after settlement? The annual escrow statements, right? And remember every year we have to analyze the escrow, right? And if there's any excess of $50, it must be returned within 30 days, right? So we have to give them an annual escrow statement every year, and a servicing transfer statement, if that applies, right? So what is a servicing transfer statement? Servicing transfer statement is if we are going to be transferring the servicing of the loan to a different provider, right? So the rules there is we have to notify the borrower 15 days before the transfer, and we have to give the borrower 60-day grace period. If they, even after we notify them 15 days before that the servicing of the loan is going to be transferred, right? If they like mess up, and if they end up, you know, continuing to pay to the wrong location, then we have to, you know, give them 60-day grace period, right, for that. So those are the disclosure requirements. Now, quick note, the terms that we give, like in these initial disclosures and everything, the terms that we give, they must be available for 10 business days. 10 business days, those terms must stay available, right? Now, question. We talked about how these disclosure requirements are required, you know, like these initial ones are required at or within 3 business days of a completed application. Here's the question. What constitutes a completed application? How do we know we have a completed application? Well, there's 6 items that make up a completed application. Here are the 6 items that make up a completed application. Name, social security number, gross monthly income, loan amount sought, address of subject property, and estimate of property value. Those are the 6 items that make up a completed application. So, Respa. Quick recap. What is Respa? What is the purpose of Respa? Respa is Regulation X. Respa stands for the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, and the purpose of Respa is to help consumers become better shoppers for settlement services, eliminate unnecessary increases in costs due to kickbacks, and place limitation on the use of reserve accounts. If you have any questions or comments, please place them in the section below, the comment section below, and I'll see you next time on the next video.